This is the Sideline Slice, presented by Valentino's Pizza, the official pizza of the Huskers. Here's your host, Jessica Coody, and Husker Radio Network analyst, Jeremiah Sirles.
Welcome into another episode of the Sideline Slice, presented by Valentino's Pizza. And look who's in studio, actually, today. Sirles, you've been here for Pro Day, and so you just stopped on by the studio. Thought we knocked out a pod.
Absolutely. I mean, I haven't been here since season, maybe. I mean, I always tell you guys, and I'll see you in March, right? I'll see you in April. I disappeared January, February. I've been on the road 37 days since January 1st. But yeah, it was great to be back here, see Pro Day, watch Ty and Ben Hart and Scott and guys that I've watched in the program for a really long time, get a chance to go out there and do their thing. And I felt like everyone had a really good day today. It's
always a special day because a lot of the old guys come back and support, and then you see then the younger players that are on the team. They walked. A lot of them were there following their spring practice. It's a cool, I guess, moment for the guys that have been a part of this program to get to come together again for all ages of the Huskers.
Because we all came here wanting to go to the NFL. No one came to Nebraska like, I just want to play Nebraska and then be done, right? We all come in with wanting to go play at the next level. And this is your audition. This is your job interview. And if you didn't go to the combine, this is your only shot. And so you want to go support those guys, especially guys that have been in the NFL, understand how hard it is to get and stay in the NFL, just to come back and show support for those guys and show, hey, everyone's behind you. I know I played a decade ago, but we're still here. And then you see some of the young guys, and it just builds a good culture. And that's what Matt Rhule and coach is all about here, is building the right culture. And I really feel like Nebraska's getting back to that family atmosphere, that culture piece where, you know, you played here once, you can always be a part of this place.
You have a different perspective, being that, you know, you're now kind of on the agency side of things, and so, but you interact with scouts and you talk to a lot of the people that are in the NFL. What's now the narrative about Nebraska football, and now that there's some guys that are getting some attention, maybe getting drafted this year, but with Coach Rhule taking over the staff, I mean, what's kind of the narrative right now surrounding this program?
Yeah, I think the arrow's pointed straight up. You know, you talk to a lot of the guys in the NFL, and they go, hey, you got the head coach and you got the quarterback. That's the hardest piece, right? I mean, that's all cross levels of football. I mean, I was just talking to a guy from the Patriots. He's like, hey, we got the head coach and we got the quarterback. Now we can build around there. And, you know, Coach Rhule comes in, sets the culture. Dylan Raiola comes in. You feel like you've stabilized that position. Now you can really start building around them. And it's so funny now to watch Nebraska and all of college football, how they're really starting to mirror the NFL.
Yeah.
Right? You're seeing guys that have been high-level execs in the NFL for a long time leaving those programs and coming and being GMs of college teams, because it is now going to be very similar. You're going to have a cap. You're going to have management. You're going to have roster evaluation. You're going to need your high school scouts and your college scouts with the transfer portal. I mean, it's going to look very soon so similar to an NFL program at every Power 4 program in the college football atmosphere.
So, okay, and I know we'll probably, you know, learn this more as it goes along because it is a new position, but the GM with Pat Stewart kind of coming over from the Patriots, what do you expect him to do? What are going to be his big responsibilities? Because Coach Rhule's still going to have a big say in the roster, right?
Absolutely.
Which is different than the NFL, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, the coaches always have a say in the roster, but, you know, the GM and so, like, the hidden heroes of the NFL are the cap guys, the guys that make the money work, right? Hey, and it's different. Like, now college football has, quote unquote, a cap, right? College athletics, excuse me. And so managing your budget of, hey, how do we pay this player and that player, and how do we make sure we keep this player before moving on? It's a ton of gymnastics that go on behind the scenes with. In the NFL, a lot of it is the GM and the cap guy build the roster, and you give it over to the coach and go, hey, coach, what I gave you. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a work hand in hand at the college level, because you do need to still bring in the right kind of kids.
Yeah.
You want to bring in the kids that want to be here, not just because I want to go get paid, right? Because in the NFL, everyone wants to just go get paid, right? I want my bag. I want to make my $77 million. A little different, right? There's a lot of money to be made in college football, but the really good programs are going to be the ones that can retain talent.
Yeah.
Right? Retain the talent, develop the talent, keep them in-house, not having to build your roster from a portal perspective every single year, but treat the portal like the NFL treats free agency of, hey, we've developed this. We have a need at defensive end. We have a need at wide receiver, right? Let's go find one or two of those guys, not have to overhaul our roster every year because we lose 20 guys. Now we got to bring 20 guys in. And I think that's where Pat Stewart and Coach Rhule are going to do a great job of coming hand in hand, managing the cap while also managing the player roster development piece.
Okay, so one thing that's a little bit unique with Coach Rhule is that obviously he came from the NFL. He knows a lot of these guys. He interacts with them, and you can tell that there's a lot of respect for those guys that come in, and he knows them. What's that perspective like, and how is that different, and how good is that for these players that come to Nebraska, that he has those kinds of relationships? Because, I mean, he had a mixer, right, with some of the guys that that are going to be here for Pro Day. Just how important is that, and what can that do for these Huskers coming in?
Yeah, it's huge. You know, I think initially when we hired a coach coming out of the pros into college, right, you're like, oh, he didn't bring anyone with him, right? Because now you're seeing staffs get hired and they bring 20 players with him. You know, and initially he was like, well, he's not bringing with him, but the experience that Coach Rhule brings from being in draft meetings, being in pro personnel meetings, and understanding the ins and outs and how an NFL team scouts, how an NFL team evaluates, he's going to have these players NFL ready. And I think the scouts are going to know that too. Hey, Coach Rhule cut his teeth in the NFL, right? He knows what it takes. He's going to make sure that his players understand what it takes to play in the NFL, because it is hard to play in the NFL. Yeah. I mean, not just to play, but to stick around for more than a couple of years. I mean, there's a very small group of people that have done that. And Coach Rhule understands that. And I really do think that he's going to continue to build this program the right way, because when you send guys to the NFL, recruiting becomes a whole lot easier.
Absolutely. You know, just beyond just that part of getting guys ready, but he seems just to be really well liked and respected by those guys.
Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of similar to where if you coached in the NFL or you played in the NFL, there's an instant respect factor.
Yeah.
Because of what I just said. It's hard. At one given time, there's 32 head coaches in the NFL. That's it. Right. And to have, even if it doesn't work out, to have at one point in time be able to say, hey, I had head ball coach on my hat as an NFL team, you have immediate respect. Right. And that's the piece too, where when Coach Rhule speaks, they're going to listen. Right. When Coach Rhule talks, he knows that he can't BS these guys either, right? He can't put his stamp of approval on a guy that maybe he has some questions about, because that's going to come back to him, right? So he's going to be brutally honest with people, and he's going to obviously pump his guys the right way. But honesty and integrity go a long way in the NFL circles, and I think Coach Rhule has a lot of that.
Okay, let's dive into some of these guys that are going to be going to the next level. Let's start with Ty Robinson. He didn't do a whole lot at Pro Day here. He didn't need to, because he performed so well at the Combine. How you were there, what was the reaction there, Ty Robinson running the 40, and just overall his performance at the Combine?
Yeah, I'm going to even go back a little bit more to the Senior Bowl, right? I was down at the Senior Bowl as well, and I thought Ty had a fantastic week down there. You know, he got to show his disruptiveness. He got to show his pass rushing ability. He was blowing up plays in the backfield. Like, he had a really good Senior Bowl week, and then to watch him continue to grow and go on to that at the Combine, and at one point lead all D tackles, because this is as deep as a D tackle class as there's been going into the NFL in recent history. And so for him to separate himself from that middle of the pack piece and push himself up into serious day two consideration now has been awesome for him. You know, a guy that you and I have loved on this show since he's been on campus. To see him put it all together his senior year and then put it out onto the field for NFL execs to look at. I mean, he's going to be a very good NFL player going into next year.
And one of those stories that you point to that could have left, stayed, and it's paying off for him. Absolutely, right? I mean, there was a lot of speculation last year if he came out, maybe he gets drafted, maybe he doesn't, right? He's right on the bubble. Come back, maximize the time with Coach Corey Campbell down in the weight room, put the weight on the right way, redefine his body, go out under the Tony White system, play as many snaps as he could, get rotated in a little bit more this year so he could stay fresh, right? He wasn't asked to play 65 snaps a game this year. He was asked to go dominate for 40, and that helped his stock tremendously. Were you shocked he ran as fast as he did? Absolutely. I didn't think White Lightning could run like that. Are you kidding me? I'm watching these dudes fly up and down. Also, I'm like, wait, clubhouse leader is who? Ty Robinson? Let's go. Right? I mean, I was at the Combine, and it was all the talk and the buzz. And, I mean, I knew he was a great athlete. I did not know he had that in him. Well, I mean, it ended up being the fastest 40 of any defensive lineman. D-tackle. Yeah, D-tackle. The edge guys are different worlds now. I'm sorry, defensive tackle. But the D-tackle, he was up there with that. I mean, I think a good comp for people that watch the NFL, you know, Braden Fisk last year was a guy out of Western Michigan, transferred down to Florida State, ended up getting drafted, I believe, in the 3rd to the Rams, and had a great rookie year. I think that's a very similar path for Ty Robinson. Oh, that's awesome. All right, Nash Hutmacher is a guy that didn't get invited to the Combine. Maybe some people around here were surprised about that. I know his former position coach Coach Knighton had put some tweets out about him not getting invited. Because a lot of the defensive linemen, there were several that didn't compete or even go through. So you lose out on an opportunity. Yeah. But, Nash was able to compete here at Pro Day today. How did Nash look? And what do you feel like he's going to be able to do at the next level?
Yeah, I think Nash was just a product of what I just talked about, of how deep the D tackle class is. I think there was like 70 of them invited to the combine, right? So he's still right there on that bubble. I think he ran really well. I didn't hear any official times, but he looked good in the drills, looked like he moved around. He's going to be a guy that, even if he goes undrafted, I still think he has a good chance to make a roster and find a place to fit. The one question mark with Nash has always been the pass rushing ability, right? When you look at the NFL and you're paying Joe Burrow $55 million, Trevor Lawrence $50, Josh Allen's making $350, they're going to throw the football in the NFL. To play D tackle, you have to be able to pass rush and get to the quarterback and disrupt. That's where he's going to have to take the next step in his game, and probably why he was bumped down the list a little bit as far as when you watch some of these guys that are quick twitch from Oregon or the Mason Grahams from Michigan. Like, those dudes can get after the passer and run stuff. He just has some still development. That doesn't mean he can't do it, right? But when you're talking about drafted, undrafted, so much of that just comes down to the product of what you are right now.
So if we go back to a year ago this time, when we were out there watching spring football practice, there was a guy wearing 18 that you said, that's a next-level looking guy, Isaiah Nair, and you said it again today. And what's the talk about Isaiah Nair? I know people were really impressed with him at the Combine as well.
Well, 4.40 at that size, yeah, you're going to get a lot of buzzing. This time of year in the pre-draft process, we joke about our agency, it's about height, weight, speed, right? Not always about the type, not always about the production. It's about how does the guy look when he gets off the bus. And Isaiah Nair is a first off the bus kind of guy, right? Like, you go first and let all the pictures take you. I said it in spring last year. I'll say it again. Looks like he's built in a lab, right? He is an avatar. He's long, he's big, he can run. He didn't have quite the production in the back half of the year that he had this year, but guys that big and can run like that, they don't grow on trees. So he's definitely going to get a chance to get drafted and go out there and compete too.
A guy that you said had a really good day that impressed you was Isaac Gifford, and I feel like he's a guy that probably could go make some special teams maybe and contribute.
I mean, his brother just signed on to year 7 as a special teams ace, right? Those guys, tough, competitive, play their balls off. Like, those guys find ways to stay in the league. And yes, they're not going to be the guy that you want to start at safety for 17 games, right? But they're a guy that's going to play all 4 core, punt return, kickoff return, make some big splash plays, be a locker room guy, be a culture guy. If you can get the special teams coach to fall in love with you, you will make the team. And I think that's going to be Isaac Gifford's path into the NFL, much like Luke. And then maybe you start scratching your way onto the defensive roster. You have a package, right? Whatever it might be. But I think he's going to be very similar career path to his brother. And, hey, year 7 in the league, made it longer than I did.
Valentino's, treasured Italian family recipes passed down for generations. Valentino's has become Nebraska's classic Italian tradition and proudly served in Memorial Stadium for over 30 years.
I know there's a lot of interest, too, in a guy in, like, Thomas Fedoni that came out. And what's, I guess, the projection on him? And because, I mean, he has a skill set that can certainly be utilized.
Height, weight, speed, right?
Yeah.
You look at Thomas and you go, yeah, you could play tight end in the NFL. But this time of year, too, medical red flags can pop up, production stuff. I mean, this was really his first true year staying fully healthy all the way through. But, again, he ran well at the Combine. I thought he worked out really well here today, moved well. I mean, I've heard crazy ranges on him. I mean, I've heard guys that say he could be day 2 to top of day 3 to last pick of the draft type of things, right? The draft is such a fickle beast, and it's never able to truly predict. And I think that he is a guy that's going to get drafted. If our draft was tomorrow, I would say flip a coin. I have no idea where he's going to go, but he's going to get drafted.
Wow. Another guy that really caught your attention today is not going to be drafted, but is going to be wearing a Husker uniform next year. Dylan Raiola. You love the way he was spinning it today.
I mean, yeah. I was standing next to Kenny Bell, and we just kept kind of looking at each other and looking back at him, and then you're watching all the scouts like, right? Like, and it's such a great rule that the NCAA did to allow these guys to come and showcase and throw in front of scouts, and it's all filmed, right? So it's filmed for the players, but you'll be crazy if you don't think those scouts are like, hey, 15 at Nebraska, mark him down for 2 more years, and we're going to have a look at him because he looked fantastic today. I thought he was putting great ball. I thought he had really good pace on the ball. You know, last year my number one thing with him was like I never really saw him just like rifle one in there and go. And there was a couple balls today that I saw zip out of his hand where it wasn't the big arc, right? But it was like, hey, 3-step, hit your foot, get that one hitch and go. And that's the big part that he's going to take in his game next year. You know, times last year he held onto the ball a little long, and he was a freshman. That's going to happen. But the jump I expect him to make this year from just a processing perspective, the ability to find where to go with the football, I really do think he's going to take a big jump this year.
You talked about just the NCAA making that rule. I mean, these are guys, you want to showcase those wide receivers and the best that they can. This is a job interview, and Dylan's the guy that has chemistry with them, that they've been working out together for over a year and sometimes even longer. So you give he gives them the best opportunity to look their best on this day.
100%. I mean, I think it was 3 years ago I had Austin Allen, and I had to find a quarterback in Lincoln, Nebraska. Like, can someone come throw to my guy, please? So, no, I think it's a great thing for them to do. The NFL loves it, too, because it allows the scouts to get eyes on guys that, hey, maybe I'll be able to go look at him for next year. I'll already get a jump on writing him. Or, you know, they go back and maybe, I think, like, there's a quarterback, I can't remember his name, at Iowa State. I was just at Iowa State a few weeks ago. Jumped off the page at Pro Day, and a lot of the scouts are going, hey, this is a guy to look at, right? So it's a great rule. It was dumb that it wasn't in place in the first place, but yeah, Dylan looked really, really good today.
You talked about the different throws. Is that something, are they telling him what throws? Do you have a script going into it? So did he, I mean, or do you think that might be something he's also worked on? Yeah,
no, I mean, the way that the quarterbacks and the receivers, they usually have a script for Pro Day, right? Where it's like, hey, we're going to run all right side, we're going to hit the curl, we're going to hit the 12-yard out, we're going to hit the post, we're going to hit the fade, and then we're going to flip, and then we're going to go hit the deep dig, right? So they definitely have a script to showcase all those things. And also, it just helps them. I mean, it's not like backyard football where it's like, all right, you break out here, and then I'm going to throw it to you, right? You don't want any of that. You want this to be a very professional job interview. They went through their script, and I mean, I think he might have only missed, 1 or 2 throws.
Wow.
I mean, overall, I mean, some of his sideline throws that he was hitting and putting out there were fantastic. So, yeah, future is still pointed straight up for that young man.
And his physique, that's been a big topic of conversation. Coach Rhule's talked about that. Did you like the way he looked?
Yeah, he looked great.
Body?
I mean, he looked great. I mean, I think it's funny, and social media is a fickle beast, right? There's a couple times where he didn't look like he was cut up. Hey, he was postseason. He got beat up a lot. He's fine. I mean, he's getting in there. I have full faith in Coach Corey Campbell and all those guys. I mean, all the guys look the part, right? You walk around this building and you're looking at kids that are freshmen versus kids that are seniors, and you're just seeing the development that's put on these guys, and all of them coming off of a big winter, right? I mean, winter's all about eating food and lifting weights, and all these guys look like they put on muscle mass, they look ready to go, and then they'll just turn that back over now into spring ball and rocking and rolling. But yeah, you know, he looked fantastic.
Well, you talked earlier about Isaac Gifford maybe getting a special teams coordinator to fall in love with him. A special teams coordinator that loves you is Mike Eckler. You got a chance to see him today, and how was that? I
love Coach Eck. I love Coach Eck. I saw Maher. He was out there working with Boom Sheeny, and I was like, hey, take me to Coach Eck's office. And I got to run up in there, and I mean, immediately got to see him and shake his hand and give him a hug and just say, welcome home. So excited you're back. And it's funny, I've ran into multiple coaches today, and all of them talking like this. And I was like, oh, spring ball must have started, right? You guys all sound like you smoked a pack of cigarettes a day because you just got back into spring ball. And Coach Eck, I mean, I don't know if you've been out to practice yet, but you'll notice him when you're out there. Like, the dude brings unbelievable amounts of energy to every single practice, to every single drill. And when you're a special teams coordinator, that's kind of what you feed off of, right? Those special teams guys live off of big play energy and celebrating with your teammates. And Coach Eck's going to do a fantastic job. I am so happy he's back in Nebraska.
It's funny you say that. I talked to Marquise Buford today, and his face lit up when I asked him about Coach Eckler, and he said he's making special teams fun, and everybody wants to be a part of it. I mean, he said sometimes the older guys might be like, oh, I don't want to do special teams, but like everybody wants to be a part of contributing to special teams. I mean, that's that energy that you're talking about.
It's contagious, right? It's contagious. And Eck's not afraid to call you out, be like, oh, you don't think you can do it? Fine, I'll find someone else that can. But, oh, I didn't say I couldn't do it. Oh, it's like, oh, well, then get in here and show me. All right, I'll show you. Right? Like, he's so good at working with younger kids of how to find the proper way to motivate them, right? It's not always fun to play special teams, right? If you're the third receiver and you just got done on a 6-play drive and now you got to punt and you got to go play gunner, right? You're going to be tired. But if you know Coach X on the sideline, like, yeah, come on, right? Like, it's going to get you fired up. And so I think he's going to do a great job. And, obviously special teams was a big issue for us last year, lost us some football games, put us in some bad positions in certain football games. If we can get the special teams flipped around where it becomes an asset to this team, making our kicks, everything tuned up, not getting punts blocks, it's going to equivalent to more wins for this football team.
We've talked, previously about some of the things that you'll be watching for this football team here in spring football. But what are the things that have to happen for this team to be where they need to be when this spring football chapter closes? Yeah,
a lot of it, I want to see how comfortable Dylan is running the Dana Holgorsen offense, right? I don't think Dana came in and gutted everything and was like, hey, we're installing everything new. Dana's been around long enough to be able to understand, hey, I can implement a system without changing the terminology. Right, because you don't want to go into this year starting with the slate clean, right? That's not really how you have success going to spring ball. You want guys to be familiar with what the terminology and what we want to run, but I'm going to tweak things, making sure it's run my way from the offensive perspective, right? So I'm really excited to see how Raiola and that crew come in here. And then also, surprise, surprise, I want to see our identity in the run game. I think Coach Holgorsen definitely understands we have to run the football in the Big Ten. Now, it's in his DNA. He's going to sling the rock around. That's no surprise. But I do think he believes that, and I would love to come out of spring ball going, okay, I can see where we're going with the run game, whether it's outside zone, pin pull, downhill. I don't care what it is. I would love to see him saying, this is our bread and butter when we run the football. Let's just continue to do that.
What position group outside the offensive line, I'm not going to let you pick that today, are you circling? Are you watching? Do you want to see how they come out of spring football the most?
It's probably the receiver room. We lose Banks, we lose Isaiah Nair, we lose Thomas Fedoni. That's 3 big-time pass catchers for Dylan Raiola last year. Who are going to step up and be the next guys? Who are going to be the guys that fall in love with Dylan and Dylan has great chemistry with and is going to become the number 1, the number 2, and the number 3 wide receivers, because we're going to need those guys, right? So really excited to kind of watch that position room battle it out for who the chemistry builds with and who took a big jump as a young guy from last year to this year.
What does spring football look like? You and I have dove into, there's 3 new coordinators, so obviously it's going to be a lot of install, learning playbooks, but what is the goal? You don't practice every day, and it's kind of a little bit, not as much of a grind, I guess, as other times throughout the season. So what is spring football like? What needs to happen for a football team?
Yeah, spring football is like laying the foundation of a house, right? It's no rush. We're not putting up the pin and the trim and the cabinets, right? It's not making it look pretty right now. But if you don't build it on a good foundation, the house is going to crumble. And spring football is all about putting the building blocks and the foundation in place so that when you hit the ground running in training camp, you're not starting from ground zero. And for all 3 phases, it's about making sure we're comfortable with the playbook, we're comfortable in the way things are run, getting in and out of the huddle, getting play calls called in, the communication across the board, right? Everyone always being on the same page. And it's also where you really start honing in on no penalties, no stupid things outside of football, right? Just understanding how to become a winning program. That's all built in the spring. It's all built in the spring. If you can come out of spring football feeling like, hey, I feel like we laid a great foundation over this 6-8 weeks. I feel like everyone's on the same page. Let's go into summer conditioning, and then once fall camp hits, let's roll. Right? I really think that's the best thing you can get out of spring football.
Can you get a sense when you're watching practice, okay, this is going to be, we're going to be a really good football team, or is it still too early?
It's still too early to tell, because a lot of it is you don't have all your guys, right? Some guys are still dinged up, or there's some older guys that don't need a full grinder of a spring ball, but you'll be able to get a sense of where the football team is headed, right? You don't win a starting job in spring football, but you can lose it. Right? Like, you can absolutely, as a player, put yourself behind the 8 ball of going into fall camp, or you want to put yourself in the conversation. And I think you can say that about an entire football team of, hey, we left spring ball not feeling really good about the foundation we laid. Like, we might have to backtrack walk before we run here. Or on the vice side, you can leave spring football and go, hey, I really feel good about the guys in our program. I really feel good about where everyone's at with the coaching staff, and I think the needle's pointed up, right? So I don't think you can't leave spring ball saying, hey, this is a 10-1 football team, but you can definitely leave spring ball going, hey, we're going to be competitive in every game we play in this year.
One more thing about Coach Eckler, he made no bones about it. He said there's some speed on this team, and he liked some of the he said he liked the way that Coach Rhule recruits the athletes that he recruits, and just so that foundation of having speed that you can build around special teams. How good is that for Coach Eckler?
Oh yeah, you got to have speed, right? You got to have guys that can run down on kickoff and cover kicks. You got to have punt returners that can be electric and flip the field. You know, height, weight, speed is, I joke about it, right? But it is important for a lot of positions, and you can't win football games with slow players. It just doesn't work. And so, you know, seeing some of the guys, and again, I can't sing Coach Corey Campbell's praises enough of how he develops these guys and how he works with them, because that's where you become fast in the weight room. You move weight, you jump high, you pick heavy weight up, you put it back down, right? And you do that over and over again, and it seems monotonous, but then you get out on the spring football field and you feel all of the work you did through the winter on a football field, and you're like, okay, I get why I grinded through 5:30 a.m. mat drills. I get why we did max outs and I had chains on and I was dying, but like now I'm pushing this dude around a whole lot easier than I was last year. I'm running by this guy now. All that stuff comes into play, but yeah, speed is killer.
It's funny you said that. Emmett Johnson told me today he put on 8 pounds of muscle and he's faster. He's clocked faster.
Yeah, I mean, if you put on 8 pounds of fat, you're going to be slow, right? But you put on 8 pounds of muscle and you put it on the right way with your legs and your engine and, you know, your core, and then you get bigger upper body, right? I think Emmett understood, hey, I'm going to be taking a lot of hits if I'm RB1 right now. Like, I need to make sure I'm bigger up top so I can last through a whole season. That's the winter's the time to make those gains.
All right, well, just a couple practices in, so you'll be back again soon, and we'll be able to dive more into the team. And once you get I guess more of a taste of this roster on it.
I'm not coming to practice until they put pads on. I'm not going to come to practice and watch the linebackers run through without pads on. And no, I'm going to wait till pads are on and the real football is being played, and then I will be back.
All right, and we will get more of the perspective on how this football team has looked throughout spring football. A little bit later on once we get some practices in the books with Husker football. Jeremiah Sirles, I'm Jessica Coody. This has been the Sideline Slice presented by Valentino's Pizza, the official pizza of the Huskers.
Go Big Red.
Thanks for being in studio today.
Oh, glad to be back.
Valentino's, a slice of home you just can't get anywhere else. What started with a treasured family recipe has become a Nebraska tradition for over 65 years. Proud to be the official pizza of the Huskers.